And we are recording. Thank you guys for all being here. My name is Ashley. I'm a 3-time surrogate with SurrogateFirst, and we're going to go over the surrogacy process step by step. So this will be definitely a great beginner. Last webinar, we covered what the qualifications were for surrogacy. And so this time we will cover what the process is. If you have any questions or if you need any help, you can always reach me at Ashley, ASHLEY at surrogatefirst.com, or you can reach out to our website, which is www.surrogatefirst.com, where you are able to schedule a consultation with the surrogate coordinator. You also will find our requirements, our frequently asked questions, and even where to apply on that site. So that's definitely a great resource for you to use. But we will get started. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and put them in the chat. When we get to the end, if I have not covered them, I will use that time to kind of answer any questions you have. At the end, we'll also open up for questions, and so if you feel comfortable, asking your question, we can do it that way too. So we're going to start off by first talking about the application process. Every agency has a surrogate application. Normally it will have a pre-screen, it consists of about 15 to 20 questions. And that's just your basic requirements that are involved. Once you've passed that pre-screen, you're able to complete the full application. With our agency. Once we've received your full application, we are going to go over it, write down any questions we have, and set up an intake interview. During that intake interview, it's a great opportunity, if you haven't had a time to talk to a coordinator, to ask any questions about the agency, the process itself. We also are going to ask questions about your application. You'll be able to get to know us and the agency, and we'll get to know you a little bit more too. Surrogacy is a huge decision, and so we want to make sure we educate you along the process. So we are going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of surrogacy. At the end, if you feel comfortable moving forward with us and we feel comfortable moving forward with you, we will start the next process, which is the clearance process or intake. During intake, it is a long process, and sometimes it can be frustrating because you want to get started. You've decided to be a surrogate, you've researched for a year, and you're like, okay, now I want to be a surrogate. We have to slow down and move back just a little bit. We will go over grabbing all of your medical records. So that will be your OBGYN records, your delivery records. We also are going to have you sign a few forms so that we can gather those records, along with background check, it's the end of the day, good Lord. We're going to do your background checks for you and anyone over the age of 18 in your household. That is just to make sure that we have a safe environment for our intended parent's baby to grow in, that you are safe during this process. And so we'll do the background checks. We will also do a nurse's review of your medical records. We will take that time too to also have, just to get to know you a little bit more, educate you on the process. We're going to do a home evaluation. It's never to judge you or your home. It's really just to make sure that it's a safe environment for you and baby, that you have enough room, you have your own bed, running water, electricity, that your family's on board with it too. I think that's really important, is that you have a good support system. Sorry. During that time, it can take a month or two. And so keeping in contact, this is a great time to kind of get to know your agency, get to know your intake coordinator. For our agency, that is me and Tiffany, and we kind of go through the process. We're here to answer any questions. It's also a time where you're going to gather things. So it is a lot of work. We're going to need your insurance cards and insurance booklets, IDs, pictures of you and your family to share, creating your profile so that parents can get a good understanding of your personality. So during that process, it is long, and we do need you to get those things back to us. That way we can move that process along as quick as possible while still being diligent and making sure that you are a great surrogate. Now, at that point, once we've got your clearance completed, that's when we get to do the matching, and that's a fun part. That's where you've waited for. And we're going to be able to meet with intended parents. We'll share your profile with parents that we think would be a good match for you. Sometimes that's right away, the day you clear, and sometimes it could be a month or two. And it really is because it's important to us to find the right match for both of you guys. This process is long, there's a lot of emotions, and we want to make sure you guys all line up on a couple important aspects, especially to make sure that this process of legal goes smoothly, that you both are, on board and both want the same thing from the journey. Once we get done with sharing your profile and intended parents are interested and excited to meet you, we're going to share their profile with you. And if you like them, we'll move forward with a match meeting. During that time, we're going to send out your records to our clinic. They are going to be approving your records so that you can start the medical clearance process. Once we complete the match meeting, that's where you will then be scheduled to go out to a clinic. They're going to do your medical clearance, and during your medical evaluation or medical clearance, they are going to do like a ultrasound or a hydrosonogram. Occasionally there's a hysteroscopy, and then they'll also do your blood work. They just want to make sure that IVF is a good choice for you and for your intended parents. Sometimes those results can take a week or two, but once they come back and you are medically cleared, we move on to legal. Legal is exciting because this is where you're going to be able to see your responsibilities, the intended parents' responsibilities. It should not be anything new. During the process, you signed a compensation agreement with our agency. The parents signed the same one. You guys have all been educated on what the responsibilities are. You're going to be able to go over that, make sure everything is correct on there, that you're comfortable with everything, because there are some things that they will request that you not do. Maybe dyeing your hair or skydiving or, something crazy like that. And so we want to make sure you understand it and you read it. You both will be given attorneys, and so you don't have to know legalese. You'll have your attorney to go over with you. Any questions you have, they will answer those. And same thing for the parents. If you both agree on the legal contracts, great. You'll be able to sign them and have them notarized, and then you'll be able to move on to transfer. If you don't agree on certain things, this is a time to communicate. With your attorney, not with your intended parents. So communicating with your attorney, communicating with your agency if there is an issue and you need something changed on your contract, that is perfectly fine. We do ask, though, in order to keep everything moving forward and kosher, that you do not communicate anything about money during the legal process with your parents or anytime during the surrogacy. That's why you have an agency. We are here to support you, to correct things, to save you from awkward conversations. And so it's important that you come to us with those kind of things. Once you get done with legal, your attorneys will gather a letter, they will send it to the clinic, and the clinic will know that you guys have completed your legal contracts. Other than mock cycles where you may start some medications, it is important never to start a transfer medication protocol without having your legal contracts in place. If your agency is doing that, that is a huge red sign, and stop, back up and talk to your attorneys because that can put you in a lot of danger, and that is not okay. Along with during this time, you are going to get your medical protocol. That is usually about 3 to 5 weeks of medications. And so that can be scary at times because it is daily shots. You could be on Lupron, you could be on progesterone, estrogen. They can be shots, suppositories, pills, patches. It really does vary between your clinics that your intended parents are at. So it's important to understand your protocol. It's also important to ask questions at your clinic. These nurses are trained, and so if there's any questions during that, moving up to the transfer and that time, it is really important during that time that you take your medications every day at the same time and never let that fail because that can be something that would cause a transfer to not go right. You're going to be having outside monitoring appointments to check your linings, checking your hormones, and making sure everything is progressing along. About 5 days before transfer, you're going to start your progesterone with your final ultrasound. And if your lining is thick enough, and that's usually above an 8, and usually no thicker than a 14 or 15, they will then schedule the actual date of the appointment. Now, during this process of going through the legal and getting to transfer, it's important because I hear feedback a lot. There are several appointments. There are outside monitoring appointments where you check your lining or you have blood work done. It can be an inconvenience. And so it's important to understand if your job has the availability to allow you to go to a blood work or an ultrasound. There also can be ups and downs. Now this process, ideally would be 3 to 6 months from the time you match to the time you transfer. However, if there's lining issues or hormone issues, or just your body doesn't want to work with their schedule, it can delay things. And so that can be a big, roller coaster of so excited and then a letdown. And transfers are not guaranteed. While it is not the surrogate's body, if there was a failed transfer, there can be failed transfers and there can be hurt feelings during that time, and that's okay. Again, reach out to your clinic. I know we're going through the step-by-step. We will break down each process during this year of going more in depth. And if you have something that you have a question about, you can always reach out to me at that time. Once we do the transfer, this is the exciting part, but it's also so nerve-wracking. You're gonna have to wait. You're gonna have to wait at least a week, sometimes 2 weeks after transfer to find out if you're pregnant. And that looks like just an HCG test. So you're gonna have a blood test. It's gonna give you an HCG level. They're gonna have you go back 2 or 4 days later, and they're gonna need to see it double or quadruple depending on if it was 2 or 4 days later. If it does, that is a healthy sign that you are pregnant, and we are gonna go on to heartbeat. Now, technically, when you transfer, you're about 2.5 weeks pregnant. So lucky for you, your surrogacy pregnancy is only going to last 37.5 weeks. And so when you get to the heartbeat confirmation, you are technically 6 weeks pregnant, but it's about 4 weeks after transfer. If there is a strong heartbeat, they're going to consider that a successful pregnancy. And you will start to be monitored still with that outside monitoring till about 10 weeks when you're released to your OBGYN. During this process, I think it's important to let you guys know, as you're going, step by step through it, there are a lot of emotions. There's a lot of things that are going on, and also understanding the parents. So while we want to build that friendship right away, and we want to be close and best friends for some of us, parents have been through a lot of heartbreak, and they've been through a lot of pain. And so it's really important during that time to understand that they may need just a little bit of time to have that wall come down. Keep them, keep communicating with them, keep updating them. We normally see parents really let down their wall and kind of be able to breathe a sigh of relief at about the end of the first trimester, because the first trimester is where a lot of miscarriages happen for normal natural pregnancies or IVF. And so that kind of gives them a little bit of a breath of fresh air. Now, you do have your agency. So now step by step, we've gone through the first part. You are now successfully pregnant. We will help and monitor you during your pregnancy along with the parents. If anything comes up, we're going to update them. You're going to go to your normal OB and you'll follow the pregnancy process just the same. When you get to about 14 weeks pregnant, we're going to start what's called a pre-birth order if you are in a pre-birth order state, and a post-birth order if you are in a post-birth order state will not happen until closer to the due date. The pre-birth order is basically going to be 6 to 8 pages long. It states that the parents are the parents, that on the birth certificates, they're going to be the parents. And so you will have your attorney again. This is a much quicker process than actually having to complete the gestational agreement that you signed early on. You will review that with your attorney. It's basically just saying you have no rights to that baby, that baby is the parent's baby. And then they will go and put that into the court system. It takes about 6 to 8 weeks sometimes, especially during COVID, for all of that paperwork to be completed. But around the 20-week mark to the 30-week mark, you should get that paperwork back. You're going to hold on to that and take that with you to the hospital, but we'll talk about that in the next step. So once you get that process done, the agency is there with you. If you have any questions, they'll complete it. As we go further onto the pregnancy and we're getting ready for delivery, we're going to be setting up a time to complete a birth plan. And not your typical birth plan where you would actually go through and talk about, the different things you want during the birth. That will be included, but it's also going to break down for the hospital staff and educate them on what surrogacy is. It's going to talk about the baby's insurance and the parents and the attorneys and the surrogacy agency so that you guys have all of that on contact information. We're also going to turn in that pre-birth order we talked about. They're going to clearly know that you are the surrogate or gestational carrier, and that mom and dad are mom and dad. They will get wristbands that say that they are mom and dad. They will get a room usually to be able to relax and recover with baby, and you'll be able to recover in your own room. And that's an exciting time. Honestly, when you get to that part of the birth, that's my favorite step. Every time that month before, I'm like, oh gosh, why did I sign up again? Pregnancy is horrible. And then birth comes and you see your parents and the love they have for that baby and the excitement they have for that baby. And I look at my husband, I'm like, oh, I want to do it again. He just kind of shakes his head at me about that. But that is such an exciting time. Now, if during COVID, your parents are not there, please understand that you are never responsible for that baby. The agency will help the parents to set up someone who will be legally responsible for that baby. Well, every parent wants to be here and they never want to miss the birth of their child. Things happen. And so I would definitely just recommend to you to know that our goal is to have the parents there for birth. But with COVID, we don't know who will be in the room. We don't know if there's some kind of travel restriction that will come up, but your agency is going to be there to make sure that everything's okay. So now we've taken you through becoming a surrogate, the pregnancy, and then moving on to delivery and post-birth. We do have our health and wellness program. Not every agency has a health and wellness program, but we do. And we think it's important for the 4th trimester. While America doesn't really recognize the 4th trimester, it definitely is a part of pregnancy. Your body needs to heal. Your body needs to recover. The hormones need to come down and balance out. And so we are here for you. So you'll have your coordinators, you'll have your health and wellness team that kind of help you with diet and exercise and relaxation and different things that can help to balance your hormones naturally. If you ever are feeling sad or you're feeling postpartum depression, never be ashamed of that. Never be afraid. That is something that is normal and it can happen with anyone. I do want to put in here though, that with those hormones, when you deliver, I myself was a blubbering mess. I wasn't a blubbering mess because of the baby. I was excited about baby being with her, with his parents and her parents and his parents, because I've done it 3 times. But my hormones were whack. And so I would start crying. My husband would be like, "Are you sad?" And I'm like, "No, I don't know why I'm crying." So no, reach out to your agency, reach out to the health and wellness program. That's what we're here for. And even past that 3 months of postpartum, we are still your family. As an agency and Surrogate First, what we believe is we're treating you like family. We're going to be professional. We're going to keep it up on the standards. But you also are a human being and you're a person and we care about you. And our goal is always to leave you better than when you started surrogacy. So with your mind, body, and soul, we are here to help and support that. And so no shame, no worries, always reach out to us on that. That takes us through post-birth. Parents, I think it's important to explain too, parents are going to be dealing with a newborn. And if you remember anything about newborns, they don't have any sleep. And so maybe communication is going to lower a little bit. You may not get as many pictures or as much conversations as you did right before baby was born. But that doesn't mean that you're not important. Doesn't mean that you're not special. What that means is they're new parents and they don't know what's going on at this point. We all had our plans. We all thought babies are going to be easy and sometimes they're not. And so just understand that, write it out, talk with your coordinators, talk with your health and wellness program. If you need someone who is a mental health professional, let us know. We'll get that set up and talk with someone because those parents will reach back out. They will communicate with you. It may be a little delayed, but they are there and they do appreciate what you've done. I personally, and just to be honest, the last surrogacy, I don't keep in contact with the parents and I was hurt by that. And it's okay to be hurt by that. That's not what I expected. But it is what it is. I still helped grow a family. I still did what I set out to do and I don't regret it at all. So please reach out to your friends. Please reach out to your coordinators. Please reach out to all of us. We're here to support you. If you do have any questions during this process of watching this video, because I wanted to keep it at like 20 minutes of talking, and I like to talk, so we're going to bring it down. But if you have any questions, you can reach out to us. Our website is www.surrogatefirst.com. You can reach out to me at ashley@surrogatefirst.com, and I'm plain Jane, ASHLEY @surrogatefirst.com. And if you have anything that you have a question right now, definitely shoot it over to the chat. Let me know if you have your questions. I'm going to open it up for communication. You can unmute yourself if you have a question, but definitely share this video. We'll post it. If your friends have questions, we're not here to recruit everybody in the world. We want to educate. And I think that in a field where there's not always honest, partners, we want to be that. We want to let you know the good, the bad, and the ugly. We want you to discuss that with your family, make those smart choices. Now, how many times can a surrogate, how can you be a surrogate, or, how much medically, recommended? Definitely, that's a great question. And so what the ASRM guidelines require is that you have no more than 5 pregnancies before starting your last one. So I gave birth to 2 biological children. I gave birth to 3 surrogate babies. All of those were vaginal. And so I could do another surrogacy if I wanted. I'm getting old and the weight's not coming off like it used to, so probably going to retire. But if you're under that limit, you can. Now, if you've had C-sections, safely recommending no more than 3 C-sections. So if you've had 3 C-sections, you could do 1 surrogacy. But again, we'd want to make sure you're safe. So we want to check scar tissue. We want to make sure that the doctors would recommend it, because at the end of the day, you're a mom. And so we need to protect you too and make sure that you'll be safe, along with lowering the risk for intended parents. Did anyone else have another question that I could definitely understand or ask? I'll give it a minute. I'm trying to think of any questions that I get a lot and often. In our last video, we did talk about qualifications. So go back and watch that one. Age cutoff, good job. That's a great one. And so in our last video, we did talk about the qualifications, but the ages are going to be between 21 and 40. Now you may see a variation of that. You may see clinics that would allow 42, but typically it's 21 to 40. And to be honest, at 21 years old, it's a little hard to make that decision that you be done completely with your family, because surrogacy can bring risks, and you could lose your own fertility with a surrogacy journey. So if you're not done with your family, hold off. Surrogacy is going to be here. There's going to always be people that need a surrogate. Finish your family and then start. Now, if you're someone who feels you're done with your family, if it happened and you had another child later in life, great. And if it didn't, it didn't. And that was my circumstance. I was good with my family, but if a baby popped up, then we would definitely welcome and support them. And so if that's the case, then that's okay too. Special diet. We just recommend that you eat healthy. With pregnancy, there's a lot of risks, a lot of weight gain or high blood pressure, preeclampsia, gestational diabetes, all of those things. So it's so important. And while we kind of maybe ate whatever we wanted with our own babies, it's important to remember that this little guy or girl needs their best start. And what we eat during pregnancy can affect their lives. And actually, there's studies that have shown that what we eat as the carrier of a baby, whether it be biological or surrogate, actually causes them to have that same kind of like food habits. And so if you eat healthy during pregnancy, now don't get me wrong, like you got a craving, you want a cup of ice cream, you want something like that. Okay, just not cheeseburgers and fast food every day, But it has been shown that they will continue on that. So if you've got lots of fresh fruits and vegetables and meats and things like that, the baby has a better chance of having a wide variety of taste and what are those called, cravings. So that's it. We do have a health and wellness program. They are not going to require you to eat grass or cardboard. They're going to work with you exactly where you're at and then help you to have a little bit of a healthier diet or a healthier lifestyle. They're also going to help you with exercises that will help you prepare for delivery and then to bounce back. Because one of the most awkward things I had is once I gave birth to the baby, I was still flubby and looked like I had a baby, but I had no baby. And so I knew people looked at me. Well, they probably didn't. It's probably only in my head. But I always was worried about that. Like, oh my gosh, I look like I just had a baby, but there's not like, hey, look, this is the baby. This is why I'm chubby. And so we will help to get you back to wherever you want to be in that too. Any other questions? Oh my gosh, amazing question. So how long is the time required between surrogacies? It is recommended that you start the process 6 months after your vaginal birth and 12 months after your C-section. However, keep in mind that that is starting the process because you're going to have clearance time and you're going to have 3 to 6 months before transfer. Ideally, you'd want to be about a year, at least a year from the time you gave birth to the time you transfer with a vaginal birth, and maybe a year and a half for the C-section, because your body is healing. Your uterus, everything has kind of expanded. It's got to go back. Your hormones have to, level out. And they show that at least having that year or, at least 18 months between birth to birth lowers your risks. The closer you are to that period, the higher the risk could be in the next pregnancy. And so, yeah, I would definitely recommend waiting like at least a year from transfer to transfer, if not a little bit more. Awesome question though. Now, if you missed part of this, we are going to post it. So after, after our team cleans it up and kind of puts an intro into there so that we have that, I will post it. We'll post it on our Facebook page. We'll post it on our Instagram. We'll post it on my page, our surrogate support group. We'll post it all over. If you want a video because you missed part of it, no worries. Just email me and we'll get that to you. I'm trying to think of anything else. Oh, I know. Steps. You go through the process. Your parents maybe only have one embryo, maybe they have two, and the transfers are not successful. That's where that surrogacy ends, unless they're going to create more embryos. And you would start with another family if your heart felt ready or if you wanted to continue. So I think that's important to tell you that sometimes transfers don't work. PGS testing versus natural. So most people will PGS test their embryos. That's just checking for any type of abnormality. While it's not 100%, it does catch most abnormalities or chromosomal abnormalities. If embryos are not tested, it can be personal reasons. Someone may not want to test because the chance of losing those embryos during the testing process, or maybe it's their religion or their beliefs, or maybe their doctor has said that it's a better chance if they don't test them during, Now, that doesn't mean you're going to have little alien babies that you're growing. It just means that there could be a higher chance of a miscarriage or a failed transfer. But we will educate you on that. We'll let you know. And those are definitely things to ask when you're going through the matching process. We are going to do the next videos. We're going to do a whole detailed matching process, going over the compensation, going over legal and what to watch out for. So definitely keep in touch with us. Keep checking our pages, our social media pages. We also are going to set up I believe, YouTube account with these videos so you can like us, subscribe, follow us. And that way everyone can kind of stay up to date. If you have a friend that's interested and they don't know anything about surrogacy, send them our way. We'll educate them. We try to do our best at just supporting our surrogates. And obviously we're humans, but we have a pretty good track record. And I think we have the heart that we really care about making those decisions with our surrogates and our intended parents and educating them. So while we do these videos, we still have things for our parents too. I think that's it. We are like 2 minutes under, which is amazing for me and my local girl mouth from Hawaii. I like to talk a lot. So if you ever want to talk to me about surrogacy outside of these videos, call me up, text me, email me. I would love to talk with you, let you know my experience. We also have surrogates that are willing to talk with you too. So you don't have to talk to someone from the, from the agency if you're afraid of us. But I guarantee you, I'm low pressure. It's not about pressuring you. You need to be fully in. You need to fully believe in the program and that this is the best for your family and for another family. If an agency is pushing you or they're pressuring you, step back, research some more, because we should not be pressuring you to this. And I shouldn't, drag you along to get all your stuff either. If you're motivated, you're motivated. If it's the right time, it's the right time. So definitely reach out to us. Aloha, have a great night, and I will talk to you at our next one. I am so happy. Thank you for joining Surrogate First and our step-by-step surrogacy process. Thank you guys. Thank everyone for coming. I'll talk to you later. Bye.